This is Daryl Evans with Kings Vision at LAKings.com with Kings insider John Rosen. Tonight, Game 2 of the series with the Chicago Blackhawks. Chicago winning Game 1 last night by a score of 2-1, but they dominated from the beginning, outshooting the Kings in the first period by a margin of 17-2. It was the Kings that got on the board first, Justin Williams getting credit for a Kings goal. After that, Chicago scored 2 unanswered goals and went on to win the game by a score of 2-1.
Yeah, when you talk to the players after the game, they admitted that this was not their best performance, obviously, of the playoffs. They said that they did not deserve to win that game. It was a game, a deserved result, that Chicago, in that second period, found ways to beat Jonathan Quick. The ways that they did that, they got bodies in front of the net. They scored a goal off of a rebound, a goal off of a deflection. Those second opportunities weren't necessarily there in that first period when they had those 17 shots, but in that second period, they began to find those results. Talked to Jarrett Stoll before the game here today. He said that the centers do feel that added obligation to be able to clear the bodies, clear that space away in front of Jonathan Quick so that he is able to see more pucks. You know what? I have a feeling that physicality that we've seen throughout all the playoff games the LA Kings have played in so far this year, that's going to continue tonight. We're going to see a very big, physical, perhaps nasty game, and it has been described as a couple of times here this evening. Should be another good one between the Kings and Blackhawks here tonight.
Well, Chicago in the playoffs averaging over 34 shots per game. Last night they had 36 shots on goal, and right from the get-go again, they took the puck to the net. That's one thing the Kings are going to have to counter with, getting a little bit more time in possession with the puck. Daryl Sutter talked about managing the puck better, in particular in the neutral zone. Chicago, one of the better transition games in the National Hockey League. They do a great job involving their defense, getting the puck to their forwards, and with the skill that they have up front, they come on the attack real quick. Kings were forced to back off, spent way too much time in their own zone in Game 1.
Yeah, zone time is something that the Kings are going to be working on, looking to improve here this evening. Something that the Kings also looking to be doing is cutting down on the amount of turnovers that they had in the neutral zone. Really get those five-man units in shorter, more compact lanes to be able to get that puck between them and not, just be forcing the puck down the ice. You saw too many icings that led to some chances later in that second period for the Chicago Blackhawks. Continue to use that physical play, as I just mentioned. The 40-plus hits that the LA Kings had, 44 hits it was that the Kings had on the Chicago Blackhawks. Again, a subjective stat, but that was the most that Chicago had faced in a game this postseason. So the Kings are going to continue to use their size, use that big, heavy, nasty game that they have, and hopefully get another forecheck. Jarrett Stoll, now another game back in. He should be able to be that effective forechecking combination with Trevor Lewis, with Dwight King. That's a line that goes in, creates those chances off of opponents' turnovers. Hopefully they're able to create something off of a mistake by the Blackhawks, because there weren't too many of them last night.
And unfortunately, a lot of those hits by the Kings were in the Kings zone trying to defend their own end. They've got to create a little bit of that in the offensive zone. They've got to establish that forecheck, cycle the puck. They've got to stop the puck. When they did that, that led to that goal that they scored. Even they didn't make a pass to be able to create the goal. It was the pressure by Brad Richardson getting in there quickly, forcing the Chicago Blackhawks to rush. It turned into a turnover in the back of the Blackhawks net. Kings need to see a more constant effort of that throughout the course of the game. But the Kings' best players are going to have to elevate their game. Through 2 periods last night, they only had 4 shots on goal, where on the other side of things, the top 6 for the Chicago Blackhawks had 13 shots on goal. They dominated in a lot of different ways. Kings' top players have to rise to the occasion.
And I think that's exactly what the Kings' struggles have on the road come down to this year, is that the fact that their best players have been playing a lot better at home than they have been on the road. You look at Jeff Carter. He was somebody that I'm sure can be looking to elevate his own game here through the rest of this series. Jeff Carter had 8 game-winning goals in the regular season. He doesn't have one yet in the playoffs. Only 1 goal in his last 6 games. He only went through a streak like that once in the regular season when he went with only 1 goal over 10 games. He's somebody that can surely use that quick speed, his ability to shoot the puck off the rush to be able to get some chances in on Corey Crawford. Of course, the top line, assuming that it does see him the majority of the time together here this evening, of Dustin Brown, Anze Kopitar, and Justin Williams, that's a line where all 3 of their numbers are down. Dustin Brown is below 0.3 points per game in the playoffs thus far. He's somebody, certainly, when you remember, you look back at last year. And I know the players don't always like to be reminded of last year, 2 completely different seasons and set of circumstances. But Dustin Brown, what he was able to do against Vancouver, those clutch goals, big goals, short-handed goals, we haven't seen those yet. He's somebody that, again, looking to be able to go out there. In addition to his hits, he had 8 of them yesterday, be able to provide some offense for this Kings team.
Well, the Chicago Blackhawks have home ice advantage in this series, and if in order for the Kings to move forward and get into the Stanley Cup final, they're going to have to win on the road. Haven't had a lot of success. 1-6 in the postseason on the road this playoffs, and the 6 road losses that they've had all been by identical scores, 2-1. They've only scored 9 goals in the 7 road games. You're not going to win a lot of games that way. They've got to create offense. They've got to get inside the face-off dots. They got to get, as they call it, those ugly, greasy type of goals. They got to get some pucks and constant pressure at the Blackhawk net.
Love the greasy goals. Hoping to see a couple of those here this evening. Something that the Kings are going to be looking for this evening. When you look at their second road games in the two previous series, between Games 1 and Games 2 on the road in St. Louis, Kings had an excellent start in that Game 2 in St. Louis. They drew a penalty under 1 minute into the game. The first 40 minutes of that game were some of the best 40 minutes of hockey that they had played in the postseason thus far. In San Jose, between Games 3 and 4, it wasn't as good. It wasn't as fluid. They came back in that game, and like in Game 1 against the Chicago Blackhawks, they had a strong final 20 minutes of that game. The Kings, again, still looking for that consistent 60-minute effort. This is a tough building to play in, but as we heard last night, first half of that second period was a little bit quieter in here. Tonight, we'll see. It's a Sunday evening. It is a 7 p.m. start. So, again, this has a notoriety of being one of the challenging buildings to play in the National Hockey League. Kings quieted it down in the beginning of last night's game. Looking to, again, to come in, feel at home here on the road at the United Center.
Well, Game 2 just a little ways away from getting started. Kings need to get this one, try to even a series 1-1 going back to Los Angeles. It's going to be a feisty affair. Both teams will learn to hate each other as this series gets a little bit deeper. For John Rosen, I'm Daryl Evans for Kings Vision at lakings.com.